another video. If you're new here, my name is Remy and I share lots of vegan recipes and tips to help you live well. And today we are going to be talking all about beans. I shared in my last high protein day of eating that I wanted to do a dedicated video just about beans because I wasn't always a bean lover myself, and I want to share some tips and hacks with you guys that have helped me to learn to enjoy beans over the years. I think a lot of it has to do with texture, also flavor, and the fact that some people have a really hard time digesting them, so we'll talk about all of those things. But before we get into the hacks, I wanted to talk about why beans are so good for you. They are an excellent source of plant protein, so if you're on a vegan diet, they are a great source of protein, but also fiber, B vitamins. I feel like they're very underrated and there are actually so many different varieties. Beans are also a resistant starch, and according to science, bean consumption can actually help to promote a healthy microbiome as well. I'll include some details about that in the description box below. I don't want to get too much into science, but I know there are a lot of people who are very anti-bean. If that's you, totally cool. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you do like beans though, or you're interested in eating them. So without further ado, let's get into the bean hacks. First and foremost, we have to talk about the fact that there are so many different kinds of beans. We've got black beans, chickpeas, white beans, but also beans like edamame, red beans, which are really delicious, pinto beans, cranberry beans. I could go on. I have probably the most basic beans in my hands right now, but I just thought this would be a good place to start. There's also a difference between canned beans and home-cooked beans. So you can either get them pre-cooked in cans like this, which usually come in kind of like a brine or a water, or you can make them at home yourself, which does take a little bit longer, but can save you a lot more money and of course packaging if, you know, metal cans are not your thing. I usually like to opt for sodium-free beans if I am buying them in a can. Either way, you can't really go wrong. Both have their benefits. Obviously, canned beans are a lot more convenient, but when you're using homemade beans, you can infuse your own flavor into them. So that could be another tip for you guys if you find that beans are kind of flavorless, is to make them at home. I actually have a great homemade bean recipe. I'll pop the TikTok video here on the screen, and it's really beautiful. I think that homemaking beans can be fun and easy, very low effort. Although it does take some time, the active preparation time is very minimal, so give it a try if you haven't before. Now we're gonna head to the kitchen to make some breakfast/brunch, and I'm gonna show you one of my favorite ways to eat white beans. Okay, so I'm going to drain my beans. I'm using some canned white beans right now, but I'm also going to give them a rinse because they have this kind of like gelatinous liquid mixture. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that on camera from here. So I'm gonna give them a rinse, and you're gonna see some bubbles start to foam when I add the water. So like as you're rinsing them, there should be like a foamy substance. Just want to give it a good rinse until that comes off. And for a lot of people, this alone can really help to reduce gas from beans, but also it helps to reduce a lot of the sodium, which is usually in the liquid of the beans. So optional, I mean, some people even use the liquid from canned chickpeas, and that's like a divine ingredient nowadays with which you can make meringues, cookies even. It's called aquafaba. So, I mean, do your thing, but if you feel like you have problems digesting it, maybe give your beans a good rinse. But also it's important to kind of add beans into your diet slowly. Don't go too ham, especially if you're like new to the vegan diet and you go chomping on like tons and tons of beans. That can be not so great of an idea just because your gut is getting used to something new, a lot of fiber all of a sudden, so keep that in mind. Lemon juice to brighten up our white bean dip. And then garlic. I would normally use a buttload, but because I'm very short on white beans today, I actually need to go to the store to get some more for this video. Small can, so we're not gonna use too much garlic because it's just gonna be a little too intense, I think. So we'll just go with like maybe 3 cloves. Normally I'm the type of person where like when I see 1 to 2 cloves, I'll add 5, but this is a very small quantity of beans, so we're gonna use a light hand of garlic today. And I think I'm actually gonna slice them or chop them up a little bit to help my blender out because I'm using like the cheapest one that I could find at the store just for my time here in Amsterdam. And here it is. It's very similar to a hummus. The only difference is we're using white beans. So it's a really nice creamy spread. I'm not gonna try and make it look nice or decorate because I just don't have the facilities for that here in this Airbnb. You could have it with some bread. You could serve it with some crackers or just straight up veggies like carrots, you know. You could dip these in and it'd be delicious. You could also make a sandwich out of this just like you would hummus. I mean, basically, you know what to do with this stuff. It's just a delicious spread. I find it to be a little bit smoother than hummus because white beans are a little bit smoother than chickpeas, so give it a try. Beans can be an incredible snack. They're naturally high in protein and they can get really crunchy. So on the market right now, bean snacks are pretty popular. One of my personal favorites are broad beans by the brand that's called Bada Bean. And then also, gosh, what is the chickpea brand that I like? Vienna? I think it's Vienna. Vienna sells these like roasted chickpeas and they're very convenient, they're very healthy, but if you want to make them at home, you can make them even healthier and of course, save yourself some money too. And here you have it, nice and crispy, well spiced, crunchy. Doesn't taste like a chickpea. Let's listen for the crunch. Very crunchy. So you can eat this as is, or you can use these as like croutons or salad toppers. I'm gonna show you one more way to prepare beans, and that is gonna be my salad topper today. I'm just gonna snack on these in the meantime. My next tip is a texture tip. This is a great way to tackle like the squishiness if you're not into just the softness, the texture of beans, and it is to crisp them up. You can do this either in a frying pan or in the oven. I usually prefer to do it on the frying pan because I feel like it's a lot quicker and doesn't require like turning on the oven, lining a baking sheet. So to do this, it's pretty simple. I either toast them dry or add a little bit of olive oil on a frying pan and just give them a nice heating to develop a little bit of like a crust on the exterior. So if you can imagine like a piece of bread, it's the same concept, just adding a little bit of crustiness to the edges, and that makes it a lot more enjoyable because you have this exterior crunch and then a little bit of creaminess on the inside. So that is an excellent tip if you are a texture person. I like to put I can't say it. I like to put my
crisped
beans on top of salads in my Nourish bowl. It just adds a little something something to the beans, you know what I mean? Garbanzo bean. I picked up a new can of these white beans, a gigantic can actually. I find that this works really well with white beans and black beans. I have a pan on medium-high heat. It's been heating up for a little while. I'm just gonna throw the beans right on. Look at how cute these are! These are adorable. Smashed clove of garlic in there to give it a little bit of flavor. I wish I had some garlic powder on hand because it's just a lot easier. Or my favorite mushroom seasoning, but we are just gonna let it toast for a little bit and kind of just sit. It makes a huge difference in my opinion. And you could do this in the oven as well, but this is kind of like the lazy, easy way. Hopefully you can see there's a little bit of color on the beans, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We have some massaged baby romaine with my tahini Caesar dressing. Recipe for that is on the blog. I'm just gonna sprinkle on the beans on top as the protein, maybe put like a little side of lemon. I know it doesn't look that different, but trust me when I say it makes a huge difference. Not only to give the beans a little bit more texture, but also like eating cold beans from the can or room temp beans is not that fun. So even if you're making a salad, at least warm them up. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that looks terrible. That actually looks really bad. It's because the beans are a lot smaller than the ones I would usually use. Okay, a little bit of tempeh to top. Just some leftovers I had in the fridge. That still doesn't look good. All right, we'll just throw a little lemon on here and call it a day. Anyway, what I'm saying is it tastes much better when you give it just a little TLC, even if that's just like a quick warm up on a frying pan. It takes no time at all. Now for my last trick, the grand finale, I'm gonna show you guys how to use beans to make soup. This is actually something that I came across when one day I was making soup and I wanted to thicken it up and I didn't know what to add to make things creamier and just tastier. So I ended up blending in a can of white beans. And I think I actually filmed this in one of my YouTube videos. So if I did, I'll put a clip here on the screen. It needed more flavor, more savoriness, and a little bit more creaminess too. So I was thinking about what I could blend it with. But it ended up being like the most luscious, like rich and creamy broth, and it didn't taste like beans at all. You don't get that like graininess or the grittiness. That is if you use white beans. I haven't used like a chickpea, for example, in a soup blended up, but it was so good. I'm gonna make some white bean soup for dinner for Mo and I will show you how it's done. We're gonna make soup. I'm just gonna make this quick and simple and show you on camera because the recipe's already on the blog. Okay, ready? Moment of truth. There we go. See that silky texture? It's kind of like thick, but super creamy. Now we're just gonna put the kale in here to wilt and put it on the heat for a few minutes just to cook this through. Alright beans, so that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and thank you so much for watching. If you found any of these tips helpful or give them a try, let me know how it goes in the comment box below. I would love to hear how it works for you and hopefully get you eating some more beans. Give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to see more like this, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so that you get a notification every time I upload a new video. I will see you guys in another video soon. Bye! Ooh, it's like a musical instrument. Beans, 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 beans.